up? Everybody here? Who's here?
What's going on, Jason?
How you been?
Good. How are you?
Good. A little crazy, a little hectic.
I bet.
Our house went on the market yesterday, and we already got people coming to look at it. So hopefully that thing sells, and boom.
That'd be awesome, huh?
We're in biz. Big hugs, huh? It says something about big hugs on your thing.
Close.
I like big mugs, and I cannot lie. That's kind of dumb.
I had to go one up over Bianca's huge mug last week.
This week, too. Maybe I put it closer to the camera.
Look what I got. Get out of this.
Nah, you
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Old school.
That's good.
Oh, do I need to turn the music off? Can you hear
Yes,
anything?
every time you have to.
Okay, hold on. I gotta walk
Every
across the
time I
room.
have to minimize the window because you guys are.
Every
You
time
are
on the telephone.
How do you? What the heck? What the? Oh, that just made the whole screen. Hold on, Ashmek. Wait a second. I can't get the little arrow in the corner because it goes into the
All right,
toolbar.
who goes when? What's going on?
Maybe hit escape.
What the heck? Oh, I need to go from the front top and then here we go.
A big map where it is. Pretty intense.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on there, Jason.
A lot going on. A lot of space. It's a whole lot of face right there.
What do we got?
How we doing, team?
I'm doing well. Are you
Doing
doing
well.
well? How you guys
Do you guys have a good list this week?
I was doing work.
doing?
No. Oh,
Eh. Well, yeah, maybe. I can't believe Super Bowl didn't come up on anybody's list.
Yeah, it was a good Super Bowl.
That was a good
That-
Super Bowl.
We were like, I don't know, we had enough other stuff. Like because we hadn't recorded in like a month and a half.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of other stuff.
yes. I think it was tough only having 6 days. I mean, I did a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
No, the rhythm of it is
hear
weird.
About, like my schedule. Then I went here, and then I went here. I want to do more like you guys, like think like broadly things you're thankful for. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that you did an event. It's like, oh, I'm thankful for this thing.
Well, as long as we remember that Jason and I are doing it the right way.
Yeah, well, I
then
want
that's the important
maybe
thing.
one out of the 3 am I not going to try to adopt.
I don't think that's true though, that we're doing it the right way.
Or just, different way.
The other thing that's weird is when we used to do 5, we had sort of some freedom to put some really crappy ones in the 5.
Yeah.
And then talk about some of the ones that we really like.
Yeah.
We really like. But
It's much like preaching, you know.
Yeah.
If you have more time or something, it's more dangerous. You know?
yeah, having to edit ourselves down to 3 in some ways has been really helpful.
Yeah.
But in other ways, we missed some of that part. I think.
Yeah. And the cool title that you used to have.
This Week in
That's-
Gratitude is a better title, I think.
Oh,
I do too. Yeah.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
She's like, I agreed to go on the podcast 5 best. I did not agree.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Like 5 Best kind of reminds me of 5 Guys. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
they're just a lesser hamburger. I don't know. I'm not the biggest
Lesser
fan.
than who?
Lesser than all their
In-N-Out.
competitors. Like they're trying to be In and Out.
Really?
They're trying to be Dukes, or I don't know what they're trying to be.
Well, they're definitely a better hamburger than In-N-Out. That's not even
No,
close.
hell no, dude. I'm sorry. Oh gosh, that's sacrilege. I think I almost need to hang up.
Listen,
I
you
would
like the
would-
In-N-Out experience more, but the burger's not better.
No, the burger's way better. It's rooted in
Five
the Lord
Guys?
too. Yeah,
Yeah, Five Guys is like greasy and like they're just trying to go for more size. They're like hamburgers are you're
and
huge.
it's like
why
they
don't you go
crust.
for-
They crust like the Cold Stone ice cream experience with the hamburger. You know, like what do you want on it? You can get everything on that thing. It's just too much.
too
It's
much.
just too much. Too much.
Too greasy.
You guys you've never made this argument ever in your life about anything other than this one thing.
In
I
and
just
out
like it
burger.
in a burger.
It's really delicious. It's too big. There's too much of it.
There's a lot of stuff on the In-N-Out burger, but at least they know what they're doing. Like they
Yeah,
thought
it's
about
balanced.
it.
It's well
Yeah,
balanced.
they thought about it.
Listen, I'm not anti either one of them, but if you think
I
In and Out Burger quality wise is the same as Five Guys, it's not even close.
No, it's way better. I think
It's
it's way
so
better.
greasy. Like it
In and
gives
Out
me
is
something
better
to
than
think
every
about it.
fast food burger, just about. But it's not better than a like Five Guys isn't fast food. It's like a step above that.
Nah, I disagree. Agree to disagree.
Okay, what's
I'm
our
not trying to
order?
do
You're
agree to
right.
disagree.
You're right. You
I
can
gotta
either
get
be
out on
right or you
time,
can
guys.
be Jason or something. I think that makes the opposite point. All right, let's go. Where are we going? Who's doing what?
Jason chose last time.
I did choose. I do. I remember that.
Greg introed.
So Jason intros, I go second, and then Bianca chooses this week.
Okay.
We just go down one.
I go
right?
third and choose.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so I go first. Jason intros, I go first. Jason
Okay.
goes second.
Okay.
Like that.
Does it sound different when I put it in the microphone in the little book like this?
It does. It does actually sound
Like
very
better? Or...
way worse.
Okay.
way worse.
Got it. Oh, wait, I'm not introing. Jason's introing. No.
Yes,
Wait.
Jason is intro. Oh, B. This is gonna be a long day for us, I think. Are you set on B-sides?
Yeah, I actually do have one.
How about that?
What? We're in good space. We're in a good space.
Clutch.
Yes, I'll be quiet so Jason can start.
Good idea.
Okay, I'm starting. You've joined us for This Week in Gratitude. My name is Jason. I'm a pastor out in Muskegon, Michigan. We're going to be talking with Greg. He's a pastor down in San Antonio, Texas. And then we're talking with Bianca also. She's kind of rounds us out and keeps us straight and narrow. And that's she's a pastor out in Seattle, Washington. We're just three friends that have been just going through life together from afar for the last couple of years, but our friendship's going over a decade a little while ago, and we just love checking in with each other, and we all love celebrating what God's put in our lives, and we like sharing that with each other, and hopefully you guys like it too. And so if you like listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe, recommend it to your friends, and we're going to get going. And the way it works is we all share 3 things we're grateful for in random order, and then somebody picks once a time we gather. And I think this week, who is it?
Me.
That's Bianca. She's going to pick the 5 best of those.
That means there's no way I win.
Yeah.
Better make them good.
And that's probably the truth right there. And we have Greg. He's our competitive one. I'm the lazy one. And Bianca is the passionate, and she's the fully alive one. And then we do the B-sides at the end of it all. And that's just kind of a quick question, quick answer, just to round out the whole experience. You know, it brings it up to the next notch.
I feel like we already did the whole podcast. We can just say goodbye right now.
Bada bing, bada boom. No, but they have to hear what we're grateful for, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We didn't do that part.
Well, I'm grateful. The 3 things I'm grateful for, all the things you just said.
Okay. Bada bing. We're friends. I love it. Who starts? I don't start. I know that because I've been hearing
I
my
get to
voice
go
for
first. Yeah, you've been rambling for a little bit. I get to go first.
Okay.
All right. What's the order I want to do this in? I read a book this week.
What?
Over the weekend called Ready Player One.
Oh, yes.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. It's a movie coming out, but it's based on this book. I'd heard really amazing things about this book. A lot of people really like this book. On the cover of it, one of the guys who writes the a review of it says that it's basically Willy Wonka mixed with The Matrix. And that's not that bad a description of it, actually. It's pretty close to that. It takes place in the future, a little bit of ways in the future, after the world has sort of been decimated by climate change and things like that. And everybody mostly lives online. And so somebody between now and that time in the future creates this amazing thing called the Oasis, which is this virtual online gaming experience where everybody can do anything they want, basically. They recreate worlds There's an infinite number of universes, kind of stuff. It's pretty crazy. But like, so there, and the kind of the shtick or the catch to the book is that everything is built around sort of this 80s, 1980s sort of sentimentality. So like everybody loves the 80s. The guy who created the universe was like grew up in the 80s and grew up playing arcade games and Dungeons and Dragons and all this. So it's like this it's this like super nerdy, obsessive kind of book about details from the 80s.
And isn't Spielberg's doing that movie?
Spielberg's doing the directing for the new movie, so it's pretty fantastic because it's like, oh, it just makes total sense in a lot of ways. It's really there's elements of this book that are fantastic, and like and I know people who like this is their favorite book. Like if you ask them, this is their go-to, like this is the best science fiction or fantasy, or some people just their best book. I really liked it on a bunch of levels. I didn't like it as much as to say it's in my like favorite whatevers, but I'm also grateful for a book that kind of unpacks a little bit about how that obsessive, like just obsessive desire and learning for like everything you can know about something. We've talked about this before, that I think that's changed over time, that the way people love things is different, so that I can love baseball or soccer or whatever, but it doesn't mean I need to know every single detail about every player from the last 30 years or something like that. I can just sit down and watch baseball and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But that's changing, I think. And it seems to me that like when you use the word love for something like that now, it has to mean this sort of obsessive, you have to know every detail and stat. And, you know, I think baseball's changed that way a lot around statistics, but I think other things have too. And so it was interesting to read a book that was the first book I've read where that's not a foreign idea, and it's not like it's built into the main characters of the book, that the heroes of the story are people like that, which is kind of,
they're obsessive.
Where do you think that switch comes from? Like, what do you think was like maybe the first one, or have you read anybody writing about it? Like,
I think it's access.
Yeah, it's the internet.
Yeah, I think the internet allows you, like, first off, knowledge becomes those details, right?
Yeah.
So you can get, I mean, like we were talking about this last week with my son Calvin, who loves Bob Dylan now, but he loves Bob Dylan, so he can listen to literally everything Bob Dylan's ever recorded.
Yeah.
And he can do it in like 2 weeks. Whereas if you or I growing up wanted to catch up on Bob Dylan,
yeah, some of the stuff had been released till this year. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, even that, but like even the stuff that he'd already released, you would have had to have a dad or an uncle or somebody who had access, like who liked Bob Dylan too, and then they would have had to had a pretty decent record collection, or maybe you could get a couple things from your library here or there, but you would never really know if you had got it all, right?
Yeah,
I think that's a huge part of it, because I do think like. Because my example is always Star Wars. Like I love Star Wars growing up, but I didn't know anything about George Lucas. I didn't know anything about like the background of Mark Hamill, or like all the detailed stuff that like my kids know way more about the Star Wars universe now than I ever did, and they don't love it more than I do or did, right?
Yeah.
But it just wasn't available. There was no way to know that stuff. I don't know. That's my theory. But anyway, Ready Player One is a really good book. If Jason, I would encourage you, if, like with Zeke, if he's excited about the movie at all, it's a really, I think it's a warning tale in some ways about the obsessive part, but it also, they're still the heroes. So I don't know. I think it works. It's a good book. It's a quick read.
That sounds a good one.
It's a good, like, read through it. But you probably have students who have read it who are excited about it.
Yeah, I want to read it. It kind of turned off. I'm kind of turned off on it because of the exact thing you're talking about. Like, you gotta read it. It's the best thing I've ever read. And it's like, all right, let's tame it down a bit.
Yeah.
You know, this movie, Spielberg did it, and even the previews are like super 80s, like over the top. And I'm like, I think I get it. Like, I feel like I get it.
So I have no idea how they're gonna make a decent movie out of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my guess is you will have a lot of people who hate this movie. The people who love the book, I don't know that it's possible to translate it. It'll be really interesting because there's the book. What people who think this is their favorite book what they like about the book is all the detail stuff. And there's no way you can put that into an 1.5 or 2 hour long movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to cut stuff. And I think the second you start cutting stuff, I think he's going to lose some of his audience. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what he does with it. Cause I'm like, to me, I think a movie is a great idea with the book. Cause it's like, I didn't love all the details of the book. So I like the story and I like everything else, but I don't know if I was somebody who like was passionate about this book, it'd be hard. Like when people didn't like the Lord of the Rings movies, this one's going to be a really tough sell. I think. That's my,
because he crammed it into 4 hours.
yeah. And it's still like, hey, they cut out the part where there was a singing guy in the forest. I was like, yeah, worst part of the book.
His voices were way off. I think I'll start with I'll go. My first one I want to mention is This Is Us. I think it's made by This Week in Gratitude.
Gosh.
I forgot about that.
It's made it this week, like This Week in Gratitude a couple times, but I just have to, every once in a while, throw it back in there because over this past week, it was just, I'm grateful for it. It's like whoever's writing that show, all those actors, they're nailing it. I'm glad. And it's kind of neat. I don't know. I think there's a piece of it that I think it's an indictment. I think we're bad at lamenting. I think culture is bad at lamenting, and I think it's the TV show is an awesome tool to just learn how to. I think its major lesson is lamenting and hope are intertwined. They're so intertwined. It's intense, and I think that's what that whoever's writing this has tapped into, and that's how it's becoming so popular and making everybody bawl on a weekly basis. Anyhow, so I'm grateful for the show, and especially as I've been going into Ash Wednesday. I just preached yesterday on Joel, and his application was, like in chapter 2, he's saying return to the Lord, and the way you do that is you lament and you fast. And I don't know, it's been helpful.
Yeah, good call, Jay.
you guys both hate the show, but that's okay.
I love it, but Greg knows I'm gonna choose that one.
Yeah, so I've already lost that. So the two things, this happens every once in a while, Jason, and it's one of the reasons we're good friends, I think, because we're not exactly the same.
Yeah,
and the call for lament, I think, is absolutely essential, and I agree that we do not have great practices of lament, and that anytime, given your sort of church context, who knows, right? Like some contexts are better than others at this, but for the most part, we're terrible at it. But I would say that television shows actually are what feed our ability to lament well. It's one of the things in culture that even shows that care about lament or grief still end in 45 minutes or whatever. I mean, it's really hard for us to sit with any like. I get nervous with This Is Us that it short circuits some of those emotional things. Like it jumps to the stuff that you already have those emotions, so it bypasses the natural sort of state of things and jumps right to those. I don't know, but I'm not in any way down on, like, I think the lament is absolutely necessary. Is it okay if I bring up something totally different in your turn?
Yeah, totally.
Because I've been like, the confluence of that show, which had already started raising questions about lament. I'd heard that from other people. And then Ash Wednesday, and then the school shooting in Florida. I don't know. Like it's there's no question that as a people, we have to begin to learn how to lament. And it's also true that our lament immediately turns to outrage and do something. So we don't even sit with lament for very long. Like I think we're such pragmatists that the immediate response is, well, we have to do something. And then that immediate response is, we have to vote in different people. And I don't think our idolatry shows any more than when our assumption is voting will solve whatever problem we have.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know, we have this weird, this will get solved by somebody else outside of us somewhere else. I don't know. And then not being able to look at our own wickedness for very long. I don't know. I hijacked that one from This Is Us. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it took a different direction, but yeah, I agree. I think we agree on we need to learn how to lament. I think
yes,
we disagree on how This Is Us or any television show can play a role in that.
Yeah,
and I think we both agree that our natural reaction in a place of lament has been kind of coerced and trained by media to be reactionary, and I agree with that. I agree with, yeah. Anyhow,
I guess all that still means you can still be grateful for This Is Us if you want to, right?
Yeah. Because my argument against like it's not very good is it's much like the book of Ecclesiastes in that it's 45 minutes, but they're built on each other. You find out the first episode that this dude passes away, and it's just intertwined. The pieces that they reveal about the main character that's dead, that dies before his time, are that he was a dreamer and a hope-filled man, and he somehow saw things the way they were more than most people. And that main character, I dig that dude. And his last name's Pearson. And one of my best friends actually are the Pearson brothers. You remember Dale and Glenn Pearson out in California? Glenn taught my son how to work with wood, and then Dale is the drummer brother. And anyway, he's awesome. So shout out to the Pearsons too. I don't know.
It doesn't matter what.
We're way off course. I'm just gonna
pick it anyway,
my friends. I'm grateful for the Pearsons.
Bianca also loves This Is Us, so I'm out on this. I'm gonna lose.
Okay. What's BB's first one?
My first one, I will save Ash Wednesday for later, but my first one, because it's just minor and something I always think of, and I tweeted it out, so if you already follow us on Twitter, then you'll already know, but I'm thankful for just public libraries in general.
A plus.
And I remember when I was younger.
That's going to go into my number 2.
And I would visit my dad in Arizona over the summer and inevitably get bored. And they would make us go to the library. I'm like, I don't want to go to the library. But then, I remember the books I checked out when I was younger from the Arizona library. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then when I went home, I started going to the library. During high school, I would do homework in the library. When I moved to college, also San Antonio, Jason and I would go to the library. When I went to DC, it was one of the first things I did was get a library card. You can get anything at the library. And sometimes I'm looking for a certain movie. Netflix doesn't have it on demand, yada, yada. And then I go and look it up and it's at the Seattle Public Library and I can get it in like 3 days. I mean, as long as you're patient.
Yeah.
Then you can pretty much get any movie, even the ones that people don't show anymore. And CDs, although I don't do that as much anymore. And then obviously books, which I'm not going to go buy books. That's crazy. I have too many books as it is. I'm moving them around every time I move. How about I just go rent them and then I read them and then they get stored in here in my brain and then I give them back to you. Like,
I love that you pointed at your brain.
It's just the best. It's the best. And almost always, I can't even think of an example where this isn't true, so I'm saying almost because I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but the employees at the library are the nicest people in the whole really entire world.
Yeah.
And it's just such a glorious place to walk into, and there's kids around and the people are nice and they have the thing you want there. And the one I go to here in Seattle in Green Lake is an old renovated building, so it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's right by when you walk out the doors, you're looking at Green Lake, and I'm like, this is the best experience. And I do it 2 or 3 times a week, and it just brings me so much joy. And then it made me remember all the public libraries that I've like relied on and been to. And when I move from city to city, it's one of the constant things that gets brought with me. Is I gotta go get a library card. I know what I do. I know how to be there, even though I'm figuring out this new city. So anyway, I'm very grateful for libraries.
That's awesome. I think if we keep giving library shout outs, sooner or later Bianca's gonna get a tote bag.
Oh,
Probably before Jason gets a t-shirt.
I have one. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So
I love that one, B.
Yeah,
that'd be a win. That'd be a win in my book.
Yeah, it's pretty general. It's nothing, that just only happened last week, but
what's your favorite library, each of you guys? What's your favorite library that you've ever used?
Well, the one on UW campus, University of Washington, I mean, it's historic. It looks like Hogwarts. I guess I did go to Princeton.
Yeah, that's kind of a nice
I mean,
one.
I guess if you ask me for public libraries, like, for the city.
Let's do public. That's a good one. Because, the university ones, there are some really nice.
I think the San Antonio one was probably the worst, but I still found a lot of joy there.
That's not what I asked.
Yeah.
I think the Green Lake one, like I said, is in a gorgeous setting. It's got like all these families going in and out. They have classes down below, and you can look through the windows. They're like doing fun classes. Like cool. They get this huge Curious George stuffed animal right as you walk in. I'm like, this is awesome.
This is my place.
Yeah.
Jason, what about you, man?
Toss up. I'm with you. I love all the libraries. I just like that feeling of being in a library, and the workers. I have a funny story about that. When we moved to Michigan, the librarian was technically my wife and I's first friend in the town, and we didn't even know her name, and she didn't know we were her friends. We were saying, was the blonde girl there again? And Billy would say yes. And I saw her in the supermarket today. So it was just kind of creepy, kind of cool, but it was funny. I'd say it's a toss-up between Corona Del Mar's library that overlooks Pacific Ocean and Hackley, which is in Muskegon. It's just like, it's just like Bianca's in that. It's an old building, but it's an old house, and it's beautiful. It's like this beautiful, like it's almost like a haunted mansion. It feels like, but it's got just all these hidden rooms and stuff like that. It's a really cool. Just vibe in it. What about you, Greg?
Cool. I think my favorite one was when I was a kid. I think it's probably the first one I remember. And it was shaped sort of like the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So it had like a weird, like it was like an octagon or something. And my favorite thing about it, I don't remember hardly anything about the building itself other than in the summer they would do the reading program where you could get free pizza. And was it Book It or something like that? I can't remember.
That is not anywhere near where I thought this story would be.
I remember now checking books by like the stats, like
so every time I think that
I
taste pizza,
and just plowing through these books to get my free personal pan pizza.
That's really funny.
And it was like walking distance from our house, so we would walk. There was like a back way up a hill, and we'd walk to it, cool. And read a bunch of books, fill out my Book It forms, and then head home.
Book it.
All right, I'm up, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, my next one is after I made fun of Jason for inconsequential TV shows. My next one's a TV show that's even more inconsequential than this is. So I've caught up this week on the last couple of weeks of Crashing on HBO. There's some swearing in it, and there's a little bit of sexual stuff. So if this is not a watch it because it's super clean. But it's a fascinating show. I love Pete Holmes anyway. He's funny.
Me too.
He's always really insightful. And then this show, I think, is just really interesting about a guy becoming who he is, like having been raised in a sort of a system, and then stepping out of that and learning what he actually cares about and who he actually is. And it's super good. Like it's just a really well written show, and it's funny in places. And there's lots of great like little cameos from stand-ups and stuff. And there was a moment in the last episode where he's very sure that this this guy that he does comedy with is not funny. I don't know,
Yeah.
did you see this episode, B?
I did.
I've seen them
Yeah.
all.
And then like
Yeah.
there's just this moment where he realizes, oh crap, he's really funny.
Yeah.
And it was like, and he realized like he had been blinded by all this other stuff. And it was that was one of those moments of, I think there's some kind of moral development stage, right, where you go through your life just assuming everybody who's popular or famous is the same as you, but they just got breaks and you didn't get breaks, or I don't know what exactly. But then like, oh man, that guy's actually really talented. And like moving from hating that person for being talented, moving from not seeing it to seeing it and hating them to seeing them and being glad for them, I think I think that's part of maturity, right?
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It's a good show.
I'm glad you brought it. I dig that show a lot. I like the Bill Burr episode too. I love that one. Bill Burr is hilarious. Yeah.
Pete came up with Bill Burr in real life. Like he went on his first break was going on the road with Bill Burr, so they were pretty tight in real life.
Same thing with John Mulaney. The John Mulaney cameo this week was gold. It was so good. I don't think you heard me.
Yeah.
He's really a nice guy in real life, like super nice.
That's a funny show. He went to Gordon.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's a good one. So I'm grateful for that show too. My second one, The Killers' new album, and specifically that song "The Man." And the reason it goes back to the library is because I checked it out from the library, and it's coming up on being due, and I'm going to see if I can renew it. But I think it's going to be on hold from somebody else, but I'm going to have to return it. But I put it in the CD player whenever I checked it out a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't left. And I dig the album. I think those guys are good.
The whole album. What's the album called? I guess I can.
I don't remember. It has a picture of a seashell on it.
I think
I like the Killers.
I have a feeling the Killers are going to be one of those bands like 100 years from now, where they'll be like, "These guys were great."
Yeah.
Like it's like, or like you look back and like there's just certain bands you're like, man, those guys were huge. Like,
yeah.
And the Killers got really popular. Like their song, "Mr. Brightside," has been in the top 100 charts in England for the last 14 years or something. Like it hasn't left.
Great song.
It's a really great song, and like, so yeah, I'm with you. And I like, man, that guy can write a hook to a song too, right? Like,
yeah, The Man. Have you heard that song, The Man?
No, I haven't heard it. I didn't hear the new one yet. I gotta listen to it.
Song.
It's called Wonderful, Wonderful.
Wonderful, Wonderful. I can't stop. I keep quoting it to Malia. I just said, I gotta tell you, baby, you're looking at the man. I just love saying that to her, and she's just like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know why I married you." But
so if you're into the Killers, here's a follow-up recommendation on one of the more recent. There's a musician we talk about every once in a while named Joe Pug. He does a podcast on songwriting, and he had the lead singer of the Killers on a couple months ago. It's really good. So they just kind of talk about their process and how they got famous and all that kind of stuff. It's really interesting.
Cool.
So that's cool. I'm glad they have a new album out. So that band, like, you guys probably know more about this. I just started hearing about this stuff, but they came together through like want ads.
Yeah.
Really?
That's the weirdest thing to me. Like they didn't grow up together playing, or like none of them knew each other until the guitar player was like, "Hey, we should, I want to make a band." And he put this ad out, and can you imagine the lead singer of the Killers showing up to your want ad when you ask for a lead singer?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not the one that started it?
No, he's not even the one who started it.
The one that was
Isn't that
doing
crazy?
ads.
And I think
they answered the ad. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, didn't they leave something on a voicemail?
Yeah,
they leave some music on a voicemail. I think they were looking for the singer or whatever. Anyhow.
It's just nuts. Yeah, I can't
it is crazy.
That's the nuttiest story to me.
I didn't know that. Okay, I'll move on. Wait, is it me? I think it's me.
It's definitely you.
My next one is a book I just finished. It took me a while to read it. I started it when I went to Houston, but it's called Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. And it's about, he's a lawyer down in the South and gets wrapped up in pretty much exclusively, what is the word? Like working with people who are on death row. and some of them are even there as innocent people, and so he takes it upon himself to represent them. That's the word I was looking for. And then, so the beginning of the book, he's young and he kind of stumbles into these cases. And by now he's an older man and dedicates his life to making sure that children aren't tried as adults, that they don't get life without parole. And it's just, oh man, it was so powerful. When I started it, I didn't really realize what the book was about. Our pastor recommended we read it for the next series. And so I was like, oh, sure, I'll pick this up. And I had heard some other recommendations. So I was like, oh, it sounds great. But it was so... It's really, I'm losing all my words, but it's really emotional. And I was reading it on a plane, which everyone knows heightens your emotions. And I was like crying so hard at this one part where I thought the guy was going to get saved. And then he didn't, he gets executed. And so I recommend the book. It says a lot about our capital punishment system, just our punishment system in general. This man, the author, Brian Stevenson, also went through seminary or Bible school, along with Harvard Law and all the things you need to do to be a lawyer. So he has a background in speaking about this from a faith perspective, although the book doesn't really do that. It's all law pretty much, with a little sprinkled in, justice quotes and things like that. But I've heard that there are interviews where he'll get more into the faith aspect, but I would recommend this book if you're at least just even the most little bit curious about perspectives on capital punishment in the United States, or even just prisons, and maybe even a little bit prison ministries. What's that?
The memoir, or is it something else?
It's a biography. I mean, it's written by him. He's definitely not dead. I think of memoirs as like, that's what I used to do, or I'm completed that. He still does this. I think I would say it's not, I don't know what the definition of a memoir is, but I would say that this is, has a focus. It has a point to it. Yeah. It's not just a bunch of stories linked together.
Right. But it's not like a fiction book about a lawyer or something.
Oh gosh.
No.
This is a real guy. His name's Brian Stevenson, and he wrote it. It's about him and his cases. And then there's one case that gets weaved in throughout the entire book of him getting this man, this innocent man off of death row and out of jail. And then and also the follow-up. What was it like for him to come back into society, having been marked by this for 20 some years? It's not great, I'll tell you. So it's a really heavy, that's the word I was looking for. It's just heavy. So if you're in the mood, I mean, it's still winter out. There's a lot of discussions on this topic, and I would recommend Brian Stevenson's book, Just Mercy.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Books, man.
That's heavy. That's gnarly.
That is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
We might all have the same third one, and it kind of ties in really well with that one, which is Ash Wednesday.
No, I don't have the same third one.
Well, good. Then Bianca and I are more Christian than Jason. That's what we learned today.
No,
True. I mentioned that this is us.
Jason may be the man, but Bianca and I are more Christian. So take that for what it was.
We're the
Man.
All right. So for me, I'm going to put Lenten Ash Wednesday. That's always a super formational season of the year for me. I think it feeds into my wiring anyway. I like to look at the negative of things, turns out. But so as a family, we're trying to do this a discipline that is really going to be tough this year. So I don't know if we're actually going to pull it off or not. But I convinced my kids that we're not going to use electronics at all in the house after school, or like on school days. And usually we let them use a little bit or play games here or there or whatever. And so we're getting some minor revolting from
like music players, like
anything. Yeah. So I'm getting some pushback on the music playing. Yeah. The idea is like to get them off of screen time, but music players are not screen time. So I get that, but the problem is in our house, all of our music players are screen time. Like, so, and maybe that's a good solution. I'll remind Calvin that he has a record player and he can use that, but
nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that is an issue for us of like, man, it's just like, and Abby and I are on our phones too much and like all that stuff too. So, but anyway, our first night of trying it was like a huge, like, eruption and revolt against it. So it's gonna take some work.
It's gonna take a little pushing of that boulder.
Yeah, I feel like we may have stepped into Satan's stronghold on one of these things. This would be good. No, but that one's gonna be tough. But I do I do love Lent to like sort of refocus and repay attention and gather ourselves again about like, okay, that's right. This is, I'm excited for Lent and I'm hopeful for it. And I'm also grateful that the church has this season that requires us to look inward and to look honestly at our sin and honestly at ourselves and say, okay,
yeah,
who are we really? What are we really doing? What are we really called to? I think that stuff is really important. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be, I'm excited for Lent. I'm always excited for Lent, but this year it's just, I don't know. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
I echo. I think it isn't my third, but I dig Lent. Remember, it's been a journey. Remember, I was like quoting Calvin about how much he hates Lent when I was first coming in contact with Lent. But now I've grown to love it more and more. And it's kind of wrapped up in our like all three of our shared love of just like book endings, like the ending of the school year and beginnings of the school year, the stuff like I really have grown as I get older. I just really appreciate every one of those in more and more depth, and this was like the one last year. I think this has been the best beginning of Lent. It just keeps topping itself, just because I get older and I realize more and more the depth of my depravity and the depth of my need for repentance and remembering to listen and stopping and not make it because Joel's message in the second chapter is just return to me. God's just saying, just stop where you are and return to me. Just, you've gotten off course, and it's kind of crazy how every year I say, hey, I'm going to try and stay on course, but never does,
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's one of the things I appreciate about our friendship is you really taught me just the value of that stuff. Like
one of the things I was going to point out is it's trivia time. This is actually how our podcast started. A few years ago, I interviewed Jason for a conversation about Lent and just said, hey, what do you think about Lent? And I just interviewed a bunch of my friends. And then when Jason and I did it, we kind of came back and said, hey, we should do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, let's check in more often. And then now we've grown to this. So
nice. That's kind of fun. And just circling back to lament, is there a greater lament than Were You There?
No, that one's fantastic.
It's like you always say Easter hymns are way better than Christmas hymns. And I love O Holy Night. That's the only one that I kind of throw in. That's the only one I throw in the mix that's from Christmas. And I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to beat that song. Yeah. But Were You There is, I think, the greatest lament hymn. I've like
that one's really good.
I can't, no matter how many times I listen to it, and no matter, like, I've heard horrible musicians do it, and butcher it, but it always brings a tear to my eye because it's so visual, Were you there when you nailed them to the tree? Like that gets me. Boom. You can't. Oof. I get goosebumps again. All right. I got to stop talking about that. There you go.
Okay. What's your actual third one, Jason?
Oh, okay. My third one is mom and pop places. And that's one of my favorite experiences is just when you discover like a mom and pop place. I don't know if I mentioned it, but a couple of weeks ago, we couldn't do a podcast because I was delivering care packages that we put together from Martin Luther King service. We joined together with an African-American congregation and a Presbyterian congregation, and we've been looking for ways to get us like more unified as churches. And the Presbyterian brother said, hey, let's put together care packages for this organization that's in Lansing, which is on the other side of the state. And then I said, hey, I love road trips. I'll go deliver it. And so then I ended up delivering it with one of my congregants who drives around the state with a Red Cross van delivering blood. And so we're going over to Lansing and with this I think he's 87. He's still driving around. His name's Dick Isley. He's the man, the myth, the legend. I love that dude. But we drive over to Lansing. And as we're rolling in, he just looks over at me and says, "Do you like chocolate?" And I said, look at this figure. Yes, I do like chocolate. I love chocolate. And it's like a borderline between family and chocolate. Like I have that debate all the time. But he says, I want to bring you to a place so you'll never forget it. And he brings me to this mom and pop place called Fabiano's Homemade Candies. And it's ridiculous. It's like, because up until this point, up until a couple weeks ago when I walked into Fabiano's, the best chocolate place, I think, hands down, is See's Candy. It's See's Candy out of California.
I like that one.
This lady that she started making candy, and then it blew up, and now they, like make it on a large scale, and it's delicious. It's a great candy. Nothing against See's Candy, but walk into this place, and this place is like See's Candy, like when it originated. And there's Fabiano right there, and he's it was so good. It was next level chocolate. Like they do all these little homemade chocolates that I'd never seen before. And whenever they say like with bark, that means just like peppermint bark. And so they'll put like peppermint bark in the middle of these chocolate. It's just crazy. The stuff they're doing with chocolate over there in Lansing at Fabiano's Homemade Chocolates. Candy. You gotta
You're
go
gonna have to get in. There's just no way Jason's gonna stop talking now. He's yeah.
Stuff they're doing.
I know. I'll hand the baton off. I just want to say I still remain grateful for that. And don't you just love like mom and pop stores that do it better? You know, they
for sure.
When it's better,
usually have found out how to do it better. Like,
not when it gives me a whole life.
I thought, listen, I love chocolate. You could bake that as your third one. I had to put that on the list. I'm in on everything.
So many levels, recommendations, mom and pops.
Yeah,
I'm in pop. That's my
had me a chocolate.
It's just mom and pop stuff that they figured out how to do it better in a long time ago, and they don't stray from it. You know. There's something to be said about learning how to do something really well and then continuing to do it that way. Yeah. They probably were. They haven't kept. Yeah. Anyway, it was pretty crazy. That's true. All right. Somebody else,
please.
Okay. I am gonna bring it back to Ash Wednesday.
Okay.
But just briefly, there's not like a specific reason. I think I picked Ash Wednesday last year too. We take the students to the service, and so I always prep them about what is Ash Wednesday, what is Lent. It's a dark holiday, which we don't really do a lot of in middle school ministry. So I was telling them, I think what I'm grateful for about specifically Ash Wednesday and working with middle schoolers like I do is it's so tactile. There's not any other holiday where you're like feeling stuff. Like you actually get it on your face. And we also do candle lighting. And so I said those two things to the kids last night at youth group. This is not even at Christmas. Do you really get to like touch your faith? And in Ash Wednesday, one of the very rare ones, you get ashes right on your forehead. And so, I mean, I think they get it. It doesn't, I mean, hopefully one day they'll get it. I'm not sure if they got it last night, but that as an adult, that's one of my favorite things about this holiday. It's so easy to share with youth because although it's dark, it's actually like you're moving and you're doing stuff in the service. The liturgy can be a bit stale and I have to define so many words that they use. I mean, we could probably do that a little better if you were going to invite all ages, but the idea of ashes on your forehead is really perfect for this age group.
Do you guys do a litany of penance?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we use the word penitence, first of all, which is like, oh my gosh, when do you ever hear that word?
Yeah.
And then, we go through and say, forgive us, forgive us, forgive us, forgive us.
I love that prayer.
Yeah, it's a good one. That one doesn't have too many big words. I did appreciate that, except for one of the 7th grade girls I was sitting with took it upon herself to yell the forgive us at the whole service, which was a little annoying, but
I like that.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm glad I wish you were my kid's youth pastor. Greg usually says that. I'm just so glad that somebody's unpacking that. You know, I think that's the crucial step. That even amongst adults,
you
know, you need to unpack it. You need to like say that, like
And
That's
then it's linked to Easter. We went
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
big on that before. You know, like we do talk about death, but it's always linked to Easter and the resurrection, and that Jesus has overcome this dark day, this death. And also, I mean, not to give away too much, but we have kids in our youth group that they just had a tough year. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them like real tough, and to be able and to say to them like, you're supposed to think about your death today, and they're like, that's all I think about. You know, that's the challenge I'm faced, is like, I assume all these kids have no cares in their world, and oh, I'm going to challenge them with this dark day. Well, a lot of them are actually going through some pretty dark times, even in middle school.
Yeah.
So, but the challenge to me was like, where's the hope in focusing on this darkness today?
The problem is
without going too far. Yeah.
That's the exact reason you have to have those days, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to have those holidays because they have the dark days. Like they know that's what the world is. And so if the church never celebrates or never practices that recognition together, then you're just not being a real church to them, right? Like like every day of my life is dark and the church never acknowledges that darkness. Then how can I ever believe the hope, right? Like I don't know. I think it was awesome, B.
Yeah. So it was a good night last night. It was a great service. Ash Wednesday, Lent, yada yada yada. Okay, let me choose my 5. Okay, I kind of already choose them. So the first, I'll say Lent and Ash Wednesday. I just love that. It's only once a year, so gotta choose it today or never again. I'll go Killers album, Jason's Killers album. I'll go Crashing because I think we all watch it and it's great. I'm going This Is Us because way to go, Jay. I forgot that I watched that this week and it's so good. And then I think we all agreed I'm going to choose libraries because it's just a great thing.
Yeah.
And let's keep funding our libraries, man. Go to your library.
Victory.
Tell people about your local library.
Buy some tote bags, whatever it
Buy
takes.
some tote bags. You know, just give even though you weren't late on your return or something like that. Just give them money, man.
And just to heap more praise on libraries, you know that guy I've been studying the Bible with that's deaf?
Yes.
His name's Stephen. We've been studying the Bible together every Wednesday. He never had an email because he didn't know that he could go to the library and use the internet. And so now we made an email together a couple weeks ago, and now he started to go to the library to email when we have these conversations.
That's
and
awesome.
It's gonna be a cool.
That way you can continue those too. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many resources at the library.
Oh, that's a good list. I didn't win, and I still think it's a good list.
It's a good week, guys.
Amen.
Okay, we're gonna do B-sides.
I think
B-sides.
We're gonna put the song in. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so it's the Olympics season, which I'm surprised no one chose the Olympics. Maybe y'all aren't watching. But my question is, what are your top 3? You could do 2 if you can't think of 3 Olympic sports, and it doesn't have to be Winter Olympics.
It doesn't have to be winter. I think it's got to be winter. B.
Well,
winter.
there only are 3 Winter Olympic sports. No, just kidding. Okay, fine.
No, you can't do 3. I can't even name 3. Curling.
Yeah, whatever
3
are that are not figure skating.
Oh, I would have chosen that one. Okay, well, I say all Olympics. And if you want your all 3 to be winter, then you can do that.
Yeah, they definitely are not winter. I don't watch.
I think the one
just watching
where they go down the hill really quick on skis with little bumps. That one is really cool to watch.
With little bumps, the mogul ones?
Yeah, because their knees are like boom, 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 boom. And then they hit the end and they do like a trick. Then they still have like half the
like freestyle mogul or something.
That's cool. I like that one.
Have you looked into the Eddie the Eagle? They're making a movie out of it.
They did make a movie out of it.
It already came out?
Yeah.
Is that Jermaine?
It was Hugh Jackman's in it. He's a coach or something of Eddie the Eagle.
It definitely came out.
I think that's a cool story. I don't know. It's just it's before they had qualifiers, and he was the only guy from England that he hadn't really done the ski jump, he trained a little bit, but he shows up at the Olympics, and he competes in the ski jump. He's never been trained and all this stuff, and it's just crazy because nobody can tell you that year who won. He came in 52nd out of 52 competitors, but everybody just remembers Eddie the Eagle, this British guy who came out of nowhere. Just crazy
I
dude.
that story.
Anyway.
I'll also choose figure skating.
For one of your favorite Olympic events,
You're choosing right now,
Yeah, I like watching it. I think.
and
it's
you
gorgeous.
chose figure skating.
Yeah, where they
I
like
don't
get
know,
thrown in the air. That's
This might
crazy.
be like a 2-podcast ban or something. That's
Yeah.
a terrible. That's the
Crazy.
worst.
If
selection
you
ever.
could do that, then I wouldn't pick
We're
it.
not supposed
No
to
one
make
can do
fun of
that.
anybody's B-sides, but
No one can do
seriously.
Yeah, but this is you're really pushing the envelope on this one.
What was that ice skating movie with Will Ferrell?
Blades of Glory.
Yes. With the guy from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
That
I
part's
really
awful.
can't think of a third one. I guess snowboarding.
All right.
You stuck to
So you
winter,
picked
even
all
though they're
Winter
just.
Olympics. You had
Yeah.
to do all of them.
Yeah,
We have to
I
pick
did.
all winter.
No, you don't have
Okay,
to.
good.
But you got to pick quick because let's go.
All right. I like track. I think
Yeah.
track is.
You can't
I
just
like,
say track. You have to pick up.
No, you know, no, 'cause I don't think. Well, no, because you say figure skating, but that means like every version of figure
I
skating,
know.
right?
I was thinking the one where the people get thrown up in the air though, so got to be more than one.
Couples figure skating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I like the 100-yard dash, or
Me
100-meter dash, or whatever.
Right?
it is.
We're
I like
on
the
the same
sprints.
page. We might even, but to save time, we're probably going to have the same three.
Yeah, because
Okay.
all of your three not figure skating, Jason.
Yes.
Mine are the
Those
same.
are the only two things in all of Olympics.
I like track. I love Olympic soccer.
Oh,
But that's
you
not
lost
like
me.
soccer has to
You
go to the
lost me.
Olympics. I don't care about what else is in the Olympics that I like. Swimming is good. I don't ever watch swimming except for in the Olympics.
That's my
Yeah.
two. My two is swimming. An 800 meter.
I got it good. I don't know why I
The
think
100
I
meter
would,
dash in
Yeah.
in the track, and then that the butterfly is my favorite in the swimming.
very
interesting. I like gymnastics.
Yes.
I like
also
watching,
gymnastics.
particularly just any gymnastics the U.S. is good at is what I like watching. I don't
Yeah.
like, and like especially man, that's the. I think I have the same.
Is it soccer or gymnastics? Because you can't.
Gymnastics.
Or
I'm gonna take
okay.
gymnastics. I'll leave
Over
soccer.
swimming. Okay, got it.
No, over soccer.
I mean,
So,
you're gonna keep swimming.
yeah. It's
I'm writing this down. For
running,
posterity.
swimming, gymnastics in some order.
And Jason, I only have two for you. I have a 100-meter dash and the butterfly.
Yeah, that's the swimming, and then gymnastics. I have
Oh,
to say.
you also
And
said that.
Um,
So you matched everything that Greg
yeah,
said.
but
Okay.
I'd say women's gymnastics.
I'd go women's. I'd go
There's
women's.
something like the grace and the power.
They're so strong. Yeah, I can't believe how
It's
strong
just
they are.
incredible. Like I think it's one of the like the pinnacles of sports
Yeah, I agree
is
with that.
women's gymnastics, which is
Yeah.
gnarly. It's really weird for me to say as a 43-year-old man.
Strong fourth place finish is. I like Olympic boxing a lot too, but that's
I
a
don't think I've watched.
I've never
that,
seen
but
a
I'm
single
hoping-
match. I've never
because they
seen a
have like
single match.
headgear and stuff, and it's not nearly as dangerous as regular boxing.
That's it.
Yeah.
This week in gratitude.
There it is.
Great
Thanks
job.
everybody.
Make sure
Thanks for
you
hanging out.
subscribe. Make sure you pass it on to your friends. Make sure you share.
Have
Bye.
an excellent Lent. We'll see you guys next week.